This is a complete coverage of AWS Cloud Practitioner certification course. The expectation from this certification is that you should be aware of AWS Cloud concepts and its core services. So that is where I'm going to focus and make it to the point. After learning these concepts, you should practice it in AWS as much as possible. The exam for Cloud Practitioner is 90 minutes with multiple choices and multiple responses questions. It's a pass or fail exam. The minimum passing score is 700 points. If you follow this course and are crystal clear in your understanding of AWS cloud concepts and core services and practice a bit, you're all set to pass this exam as it's not hard at all. So smile and let's get right into it. There are four domains in this course: cloud concepts, security, technology, and billing. I am going to follow these topics in sequence. Let's start with cloud concepts. First and foremost, what is cloud computing? Whenever you need electricity, instead of installing your own grid station or building a dam, you sign up with an electricity provider and only pay them for the electricity you use. Similarly, whenever you need computing resources such as servers, storage, software, networking, you sign up with a cloud provider and only pay for what computing resource you use instead of buying your own hardware and software. AWS or Amazon Web Services is one such cloud provider. There are there are six advantages of cloud computing. First one is trade capex for variable expenses. This means that instead of investing in data centers and servers, you will you will only pay for what you are consuming and when you are consuming it. Second one, massive economies of scale. What it means is because cloud providers sell to a lot of different customers, it would be impossible that you would achieve that kind of pricing by building your own infrastructure. Third one is top guessing capacity. What it means is that with cloud computing, you can scale up and scale down depending on what you are consuming. Fourth one is increasing your agility. With cloud computing, all the services you might need are one click away. So instead of spending time in obtaining, installing stuff, you can focus on your use case. Fifth one is security. Encryption at rest and in flight is a salient feature of cloud. So you get security natively in the cloud. Then you can go global in minutes with the cloud. What it means is that cloud computing allows you to deploy your solutions worldwide in different data centers. Okay, next one, types of cloud computing. Primarily, there are three broad types of cloud computing: infrastructure as code, platform as service, and software as service. Infrastructure as service means a cloud service provider manages the infrastructure for your actual servers, network, virtualization, and data storage. You install your operating system like Windows or Linux on top of it, then your application runtime, and then the actual application. Platform as service means the hardware, operating system, and an application software runtime are provided and managed by your cloud service provider, but the user handles the application running on top of it. Software as service means along with hardware, operating system, application runtime, cloud provider also provides you the application. All you have to do is to use it. Then we have AWS Global Infrastructure. In this, we have concepts of region and availability zone. A region is a physical location in the world with multiple AZs, and different cities of different countries have multiple regions. For example, here in Australia, we have Sydney region, we have Melbourne region, and then within Sydney region, we have different physical data centers which are called as availability zones, and they are owned by AWS. Edge location is a data center owned by a trusted third party. Okay. Next, you need to set up an AWS account. All you need to do is to go to this URL aws.amazon.com and then on the right hand side create your free account. You might need to use credit card, but if you are using free tier, it won't charge you anything. It's very easy and self-explanatory. So instead of spending time there, I would trust that you would be able to create it. Okay, let's have a quick overview of common AWS services which we are going to have a look. First and foremost, we have EC2. EC2 is simply a virtual server in the AWS cloud. AMI stands for Amazon Machine Image. Amazon Machine Image means that it is a predefined configuration for your EC2, whereas EC2 is a running virtual server in the cloud. Autoscaling group is a group of EC2 instances which start and stop as per your load. When your load increases, more EC2 instances start, and when it goes down, number of EC2 instances in autoscaling group also go down. So you pay less for your low load and more for your high load. Remember, you only pay in cloud when you use it. S3 is for the cloud storage. Whenever you need to store your files in AWS Cloud, you can use S3 storage. You store files in the buckets in S3. IAM stands for Identity and Access Management. If you want to create users in AWS, then you can use IAM service. For that, you can give permission to various AWS services to specific users by using IAM. So for example, if you have few users to which you only want to give access to S3 bucket, you can create permissions in the IAM. Okay, then we have CloudWatch. CloudWatch is used to monitor your AWS service. For example, if your EC2 instance is using 90% of CPU, you can use CloudWatch to send you an alert when it crosses that threshold. Then we have a service called as CloudFront. CloudFront stores web pages at various physical locations in the world, which speeds up delivery of these web pages to the user closer to that location. Then we have RDS. RDS stands for Relational Database Service. Instead of installing your own server, operating system, and database engine, you can use RDS to use predefined databases like SQL Server, Oracle, Postgres, and MySQL. Then we have Lambda. If you have a code or software which you want to run in response to an event, then you can use AWS Lambda service. For example, you want to run a code whenever someone uploads a file to your S3 bucket. You can put that code in Lambda function, and then this Lambda will run on event of that file upload. Then we have CloudTrail. CloudTrail logs all the calls in AWS. So if you want to see who did what, you can check CloudTrail. Let's go through EC2 pricing. There are four types of EC2 pricings. One is on demand, spot, dedicated, and then we have the reserved ones. What is on demand? EC2 on demand pricing model is the most basic type of EC2 pricing. You only pay for the amount of resources that you actually use, but they are the expensive ones. Reserved instances are a way to get an Amazon EC2 instance pricing discount. When you choose a reserved instance, you purchase a certain amount of EC2 resources ahead of time. If you know approximate how much EC2 you would be using in the future, you can reserve that amount on discounted price. Spot instances can provide significant discount for EC2 costs. With spot instances, you can issue a bid to purchase EC2 resources at a discounted rate. They're not suitable for ongoing workloads. Dedicated. When you purchase a dedicated host, you get exclusive access to a physical server in the AWS cloud. In other words, you do not have to share the server with other users as you would with other types of EC2 instances. Then we have some of the uh, services which are related to your cost, such as AWS Trusted Advisor. AWS Trusted Advisor provides recommendations that help you follow AWS best practices. Trusted Advisor evaluates your account by using checks. These checks identify ways to optimize your infrastructure, improve security and performance, reduce cost, and monitor service quotas. Let's have a quick look at how you can obtain support from AWS. There is a free plan which is called as basic plan, but it is only for email support for your billing and account. In any organization or business, you can have three types of support plans. One is developer, which is 20 US dollars per month. Then we have business, which is $100 US per month. And then we have enterprise, which is the most expensive one with 15,000 US dollars per month. With this enterprise, you also get a technical account manager or TAM and also an account manager or personal concierge. With a developer plan, you only get the tech support via email and it takes around 24 hours to get back, to get a reply from AWS. That's the SLA. Mostly, business plan is common among the organizations because it offers not only tech support by email but also through chat and phone. And then the SLA is quite good. For the general guidance, you receive 24 hours reply back. For the system impaired, it is 12 hours, and then so on. In the enterprise support plan, you get business critical down, and the SLA is less than 15 minutes. So if you're running an enterprise level workload, you should be going with the enterprise support plan. AWS has various levels of pricing. Using consolidated billing, you can combine usage from multiple accounts into a single invoice, allowing you to reach the tiers with lower price levels faster. AWS Cost Explorer helps you manage your AWS costs by giving you detailed insights into the line items in your AWS bill. AWS Budgets allows you to keep track of your spending in the cloud and also provide some forecasting data. AWS Landing Zone is a solution that helps customers more quickly set up a secure multi-account AWS environment based on AWS best practices. In any organization, there are various departments, and you will be creating different AWS accounts for those different departments. And then it you can also make a hierarchy with another AWS service called as AWS organization. So at the top or at the root level, you have AWS organization, and then under it, you can create different account for different departments. When using Landing Zone, it ensures that all the AWS accounts under your organization will have the same best practices recommended by AWS with all the security guardrails. Tagging is crucial in the cloud. Tags are key value pairs through which you can identify the resources in the cloud. You can then tell who created what, when, and why, and they are highly customizable. You can tag every resource in the cloud and you can specify your own tags. Let's suppose you need to create 500 EC2 servers in AWS. One way is to go in and start clicking in console and create them one by one. That will take a long time and they will be hard to manage in the future. Instead, you can use CloudFormation to write a single specification of your servers in text, and specification here means server name, type, storage, etc. CloudFormation then reads that specification and creates as many servers as you want on the basis of that specification. This is also called as infrastructure as code. Now let's go through in bit more detail among the various AWS services which we have. Let's start from the bottom up from the left. We already have seen what regions are, but just to reiterate, AWS regions are physical locations around the world where Amazon clusters data centers for application and service delivery in AWS availability zones. Availability zones are distinct locations within an AWS region that are engineered to be isolated from failures in other availability zones. A site that CloudFront uses to cache copies of your content or for faster delivery is called as edge location, and they are third-party data centers. Then we have Amazon Route 53 on the second layer. Amazon Route 53 is a highly available and scalable domain name system through which you can resolve the server name to the IP address. Route 53 connects user requests to internet applications. Then we have Internet Gateway. Internet Gateway allows both inbound and outbound access to internet from within your cloud. Then we have Elastic Load Balancer. ELB or Elastic Load Balancer is a fully managed load balancing service that automatically distributes incoming application traffic to multiple targets or EC2 instances across AWS. Then we have the concept of VPC. AWS VPC is a service that lets you launch AWS resources in a logically isolated virtual network. So what happens is when you have an AWS account, you can logically divide it into different virtual networks, and then you call those networks as VPC, and all the resources get deployed in that VPC. AWS Direct Connect makes it easy to establish a dedicated connection from your on-premises network to one or more VPC. Most of the organizations still have their servers in their own data centers. If you want to connect those data centers with your AWS cloud, you use AWS Direct Connect. You can also use VPN for that. And when you are using VPN, there are two concepts here. One is called as virtual private gateway, and the other one called as customer gateway. If you are using VPN, a virtual private gateway is a VPN endpoint on AWS side, whereas customer gateway is an endpoint on your data center. An elastic IP address is a static public IPv4 address associated with your AWS account. An EC2 instance is simply a virtual server in the AWS. Now we are moving to this third layer from the bottom to see the compute side of things. An auto-scaling group monitors your application and it goes up and down as per your load. And it has multiple EC2 instances. Amazon Machine Image is a copy or configuration of your EC2 instance. AWS Lambda is a compute service or a service where you just put your code and it runs on in the response of some event. AWS EBS or Elastic Block Store is just a virtual disk in the cloud, and you can attach that virtual disk to your EC2 instance. We have already seen S3. S3 is an object storage where you store your file in the buckets. Then we have EFS or Elastic File System. Elastic File System enables you to share the data among different EC2 instances. If you want to archive your data for long-term storage on the cheaper rates, you can use S3 Glacier. AWS CloudFront, we already have seen, it is used to speed up distribution of your static and dynamic content closer to your users are. Storage Gateway is used to simplify storage management, and you can move your backup from your data center to the cloud by using Storage Gateway. Then we have another service, Import Export. It is a data transport service, and you can use it to move large amount of data into and out of AWS. There are two versions of this service. One is called as Import Export Disk, and the other one is called as Snowball. Then we have Elastic Transcoder. Elastic Transcoder is a media transcoding in the cloud. It is a way for developer and businesses to convert media files from their source format. Then we have SNS or Simple Notification Service. It is a service that provides message delivery from publishers to subscribers. SQS is a queuing service, and you can send your messages to the queue by using SQS. SQS exchanges and stores messages between different software components. AWS Data Pipeline is a web service that helps you reliably process and move data between different AWS compute and storage services, as well as on-prem servers. AWS EMR is a managed cluster platform which you can use to process big data or huge amount of data. Amazon Elastic Cache is a cache as a service developed by AWS, and it is Redis and Memcached compatible service. AWS OpsWork is a configuration management service that if you have used Chef or Puppet, it is a managed version of that. Then we have AWS Config, which provides a detailed view of the configuration of AWS resources in your AWS account. Elastic Beanstalk is a platform within AWS to easily deploy your application. You simply upload your code and Elastic Beanstalk does the rest of the magic. Let's have a quick look at AWS Security Services. We have already seen IAM or Identity Access Manager is used for authentication and authorization. Then we have AWS RAM. AWS RAM helps you securely share your resources across AWS accounts. AWS Organization is an account management service that enables you to consolidate multiple AWS accounts into single point of control. AWS Cloud HSM provide customer with hardware security modules in the AWS Cloud. KMS enables you to create your own security keys in the AWS. Secrets Manager enables you to store passwords, API keys, and other secrets securely in the AWS. AWS Certificate Manager makes it easy for you to create and manage SSL certificates. Amazon Guard Duty is a threat detection service that continuously monitors your AWS accounts and workloads for any malicious activity. AWS Inspector is an automated vulnerability management service that continuously scans AWS workloads for software vulnerabilities. AWS Macie helps you in securing sensitive data. AWS WAF is Web Application Firewall that helps protect web applications from attacks. AWS Shield is a managed distributed denial of service protection service or DDoS protection service. AWS Cognito lets you easily add user sign-up and authentication to your mobile and web apps. AWS SSO or AWS Identity Center now provides you single sign-on services for your workforce. AWS Directory Services provide multiple ways to use Microsoft Active Directory with other AWS services. AWS Artifacts provides on-demand access to security and compliance reports from AWS. AWS Security Hub is a cloud security posture management service that automates best practices checks for security. In order to book your exam, all you need to do is to go to aws.training URL, then sign in and select your cloud practitioner exam, select your center, and then book it. Best of luck for the exam, but remember one thing that apart from knowing all of these concepts and services, create a free account with AWS and then start practicing all of this. Try creating EC2 instance, S3 bucket, IAM user, and then try connecting it through console and then through CLI. And there are various videos which you can show that process step by step. Once you're comfortable with the AWS console and CLI and all of these services, then on the same training website which I just showed you here, there are also some sample exams. Just practice them, and once you're comfortable with those, that's all you need to do. It's very easy exam, and I'm more than sure that if your concepts are clear, you will just rock it. And last but not least, remember this certification gives you peace of mind and gives you confidence, but it's not an alternative of knowledge and practice. To become job ready, you need to learn this concept but also to apply them. I hope that this was useful. If you have any comments or feedback, please put them in the comments. Thank you.